And so just to give us a bit of a context to that work and thinking, it's my absolute pleasure to introduce our ambassador, Stevie Ward. I don't think he needs much introduction, but I'm going to anyway. He's former captain of Leeds Rhinos, born in Leeds, working in this area of mental health for some years with incredible effect, especially among men, young men. He's the founder of Mentality. I'm sure he'll tell you all about this, but we're hugely proud to introduce him as our ambassador, championing the work we're able to support around mental health. He's recently been forced to retire from his day job because of the effects of concussion, which we know are still with him. Please remember you can pop any questions in the chat, but first of all, Stevie Ward, everyone.
Hey guys, and thanks for that, Kate. Quite remarkable to listen to the effects which we all find themselves in and the challenges, and I'm really humbled to be here speaking virtually to everyone today, just because I'm very much aligned with what the Leeds Community Foundation are doing, and you know what a hub it is to source the help and the funds and the management to get to those places that need it. So really proud to be here, and thanks for the introduction, Kate. I'm obviously Stevie Ward. I'm an ex-professional rugby league player, an ex-captain for Leeds Rhinos. I'm now retired after Kate mentioned of the effects of post-concussion syndrome, which are the physical symptoms of migraines every day, dizziness when walking over 5-10 minutes, balance issues and light sensitivity to screens, and that also brings the emotional side of it. You know, you just never imagine the effects that having a few or quite a lot of big bad knocks to the head could administer. I sort of like to explain it as your brain being a box of all the ambitions, the goals, worries, anxieties, insecurities, having a real big bang, and all those can sort of find themselves unsettled, and it takes a good time to settle again. And it's you know, I'm talking live, I guess, in terms of how challenging it is really to manage all that and to go through life with that. But I think two things that I'm sure that Leeds Community Foundation are all over is the two things that have helped me that I can put my finger on for getting through these past 12 months. Is the support network that I'm lucky to have, you know, the community, the special friends that I've got, an amazing girlfriend, and you know, strong foundations from my family too. And one other thing that I think is becoming more and more needed, especially for young men, is a sense of purpose. I think we've all stepped out of the momentum of life for quite a bit, and I think that gives people time to think and reflect and consider purpose and direction in their life. And my purpose, I'm so lucky to have it. I'm so lucky to have a vehicle which is ready-made to direct that purpose through. And you know, rugby was a big vehicle for that. Unfortunately, it's coming to an end, but Mentality is something which I feel I've got a purpose to help men with mental health, to make it more accessible and engaging, and to help people not suffer unnecessarily. And that purpose came to me in a dark period where I didn't think I'd get out of that dark period, and I didn't think that I even wanted to be honest. So I sort of made a bet on myself that if I did get out of it and could claw my way out of it, that experience would help people. So that's my purpose now going forward with my life, but also through Mentality and whatever vehicle that can be at the minute. And what I strive to show people, I think, especially over the last couple of months after launching what is basically a mental health training regime, is to show people a more robust way to live mentally and a more fruitful way to look at life, to be conscious of the content that we're taking in. Kate mentioned the stressful sort of news reportings, and I think it's really an opportunity to sort of gain some personal leadership in the purpose and in the values that we share, the community, the like-minded people that we speak with, and yeah, I just want to sort of commend Leeds Community Foundation for bringing these messages, allowing me to bring this message to you guys, and yeah, I wanted to also throw in there, because it's only a short time I've got to speak, but to have a look at what's going on with mentality, and if any guys on this call that are putting their support into Leeds Community Foundation, they want any help with a challenge, with a way to bring the staff or to bring the people around them together, then just give me a shout. And yeah, I'm really proud to be speaking, really proud to sort of share the experience that I've had over the last 12 months. But it's something that I'm willing to go forward with, and yeah, thanks very much, Kate.
Thanks so much, Stevie. It's great to hear it sort of from the horse's mouth, as it were. And I know, it can be a little bit intimidating, perhaps particularly on a question like this, to speak up or ask things directly straight away. So no worries if people feel like want a bit more time to think about what Stevie's had to say. But yeah, I'm sure, Stevie, you wouldn't mind if people did have a few questions to pick them up over the course of how we go forward. Oh, actually, we've got one from Hannah.
We've got one.
Hannah, do you want to put your question?
I was just about to press leave instead of unmute. Sorry about that.
Don't go.
Hi, Stevie. Thank you very much for talking to us. And I think it's a really, really important subject. I was just wondering, how do you think the discussion around mental health has changed over the years, especially, I guess, being a professional sports person as well?
Well, it's a big one. It's a big one. I think I launched Mentality in 2016, and I was scared to death of doing it then. I think there was the odd number of people that spoke about mental health around then, and I think where we are now is a better space. I think where we are now is opening up the conversation, and there's more people that are engaging mental health and making it accessible. And one thing that I'm looking at, this is just like over the last few weeks, last month, I've really sort of been reading books from a feminist point of view, if that makes sense, and looking at in specific how like the sort of ready-made traditional package of masculinity which young boys grow up to adhere to, how that stops us approaching mental health, and how sometimes the risk of being vulnerable, there's better options and more damaging options, because men find it so hard to be vulnerable, and it's not an openly discussed option. So I think we're definitely moving forward, and certainly in my world there's men that are more curious, and I think men certainly get to the stage where they sort of wake up and go, all right, okay, I've tried this for so long, and there's got to be another way, and I think when that curiosity happens, whether it's through a tough time, whether it's through just realizing that what's going on in your life doesn't work, I think that's a scary and daunting time, but also it could be one of the greatest times for men, because they access another way to look at mental health and look after themselves too.
That's really, really great, actually, Stevie, to hear that there's so much more coming to the fore now than just a few short years ago. Obviously, every year that before is a sort of year lost in terms of people's earlier mental health journeys, but thank goodness some of them are starting to access some support now. Nicola, you've put a bit of a question in the chat. That would be great. Do you want to put that now?
Oh, brilliant.
You're still on mute. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, hello there. I think this follows on from Hannah's question, really. I'm a counsellor and psychotherapist and have a lot of young male clients who seem lost and have an ill feeling of unworthiness, real lack of self-esteem, because they don't feel that they are, and these are words that I've heard, manly enough. And even that that sense of man up, still so prevalent today. You talked about vulnerability, and they, as you say, they see vulnerability as a weakness. I just wonder what your thoughts are on how long will it take to change this culture? How many more generations are kind of growing up with that belief?
Yeah, that's such a good question, and I could literally talk for so long on that. Yeah, that sort of manly enough, you know, I think there needs to be an editing of beliefs when it comes to being a man, and traditions for what that means when it comes to being a man, because, you know, there's a certain momentum rush towards that traditional sort of machoistic sort of belief, which is sort of the popular one. That in itself, without anything around it, without any option or access to being vulnerable, can be quite damaging, because in my experience from speaking to people and from being in the sporting world, it's just so full on. It's like being a warrior, just constantly achieving, constantly sort of, you know, achieving what is presented to them, status, you know, achieving, it might be in sporting arena, trophies, medals, and all these little notches that they see as the conveyor belt or the treadmill to go through. That can be quite damaging in itself, because it's sort of short term, and I think when people get to a point, I got to a point where it wasn't working for my happiness or well-being anymore. But I think there's also another sort of cohort of men, talking really broadly, that see that and feel insecure about not being that sort of man. And I'm going really deep and stuff here, but the work that I do and that I hope to continue doing is that whatever stereotype or whatever sort of personality or whatever facade, if you like, is sort of there, I hope to let people speak about masculinity, to speak about mental health, and because everyone's different, everyone's unique, and it's important for men to understand that when they are vulnerable, it's like coming into a new world, something that they're probably not aware of, and they come into a new world where they can forgive the past, they can forgive what's going on for them right now, because, you know, in that sort of ready-made package, suffering mentally is not an option. It is not an option. So I think when you can step into a world which is more vulnerable, more authentic, then you get onto another sort of how can I say it? Another sort of arena, which, you know, I've got experience with fellow teammates that it takes them so long to ask for help, takes them to go to literally the bottom to actually ask for help and consider help. But once they ask for it and they see a new path or a new opportunity to better themselves, they just merge into that and just almost take that attitude on what they were on one train of thought, but into another train of thought, and achieve in terms of getting better mentally, achieve in terms of speaking more openly. And I think we need to present that option a lot more as a possibility, and, you know, I hope that I can keep providing that example for people, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it's really fantastic that you're able to speak so clearly and authentically about it. And I know, you know, it'd be great that we are able to share this afterwards, because I'm sure there'll be a lot of people will be able to pick a lot out of that.
Sure.
There's a couple more questions. I hope you're okay still to answer some more, Stevie.
Yeah.
Laura, and then Claudia. Laura, would you go next?
Yeah, I think our question's the same, so I'll let Claudia take the floor.
Okay.
Oh, hi. My question was, what work is being done with boys currently to address mental health issues before they become men? Because as the mum of a son, we've done some great work in uplifting girls and uplifting women and supporting girls and women, but it seems like it's at the expense of boys, and the balance is really tipped. And all these little messages that boys get, I think is really damaging, but no one seems to be addressing that before they become the adults that need the help.
Yeah.
Do you have anything to add, Laura?
Yeah. Did you want to add on to that, Laura?
Yeah, I think I'd say exactly the same. I think I'm a young boy as well that already sort of, you know, has worries at 10. How do you,
Yeah, and I'll say this with caveat, like the usual, the fire or the hunger to achieve and to strive is what's needed. It's what's needed for men. It's what's needed for women. But I think I'll go back to saying what I said before, that option or that engaging with a male or a youngster in the other side of life, which isn't really often presented. I did something with my old high school and some other education places. I did something called mentality in education, and literally that was about 5 weeks worth every Monday, doing something with a group of year 11s that had so much potential, but it was, the direction of it was just here, there and everywhere. And we were just sort of practiced openly speaking and sharing about our lives, sharing about the stuff that they wouldn't usually speak about in the schoolyard, practicing giving feedback, receiving it, and being serious and respecting each other. And these are things that you can find sometimes, if you're lucky, in a rugby environment. But I think, it's like it doesn't have to be so far towards reaction to mental health. I think it's almost proactive in letting youngsters figure out for themselves what it is to respect each other, what values are, and what everyone does in the world is yearns for that social connection. And I'm watching this program. It's The Secret Life of a 4-year-old. I think on Channel 4. I don't know if anyone's seen it, but you can just see that the yearning for connection and yearning for friends. And it's like, if you can assemble an environment and a culture, culture is people like this do things like this. If you can assemble a culture and start that off where it's okay to be vulnerable, where it's okay to speak about what happened last night, where it's okay to feel brave enough to step into that, then I think that's sort of the starting point. Sort of changing the culture and changing the environment and making it okay for men to do it.
I think that leads really well, actually, Stevie, onto a couple of questions which are about your sporting experiences. Maybe if I could set this one from Laura straight away, what will you miss the most from your rugby career? So got that one. Yeah. But it's also, I think, a really thoughtful thing from Paul in terms of whether you think that the clubs and organisations, sporting clubs and organisations, really understand their responsibilities in preparing young men for the challenges they face.
Yeah, that's a good question. Do you know what? I've had feelings and emotions over this last few months of what I'm going to miss. I've not actually thought about. I think one thing that I will miss is being 10 metres out of on a defensive line. You're defending them coming out of their own 10 metres, the opposition, and just being side by side with a teammate and like just going into, want a better word, to bash them and to sort of assert your dominance on a team. And those moments are, they can only really happen on a rugby field. So it's I think those moments, those connections where it's literally every last sinew is going into it with a teammate. I think I'll miss that, but I hope to do that in you know, this virtual world with glasses on or whatever. I'll try my best to do that. Do you think clubs and organisations? That's an amazing question. I think we need to. There's so much further that we can go in terms of acknowledging what people can go through and accepting what people can struggle with. Yeah, I think there's, to a degree, people understand it and coaches understand it, but you know, in my experience with concussion, I think that there needs to be a line where that win at all costs mentality is, the pressure's taken off of that to allow this sort of environment I've been talking about to come into it. And just before I left, well, last year it was 2019, we were doing really poorly. If you spot Leeds Rhinos, we were shocking through 2019, and then halfway through the season, the coach was sacked and Richard Agar came in, and I said, look, I know what we need to do. The identity for the team is here, there and everywhere. We need to understand why we're here. We've got players from Papua New Guinea coming in and players from Wigan, and there's no sort of identity. We're sort of relying on the old stuff. So we needed to have some meetings on values and behaviours and identity for who we were, and you know, we turned it around, and that was after getting knocked out against Bradford Bulls in 2019 in the Challenge Cup, where we were probably at the lowest. But you know, after sort of instilling that environment and culture, you know, we've won the Challenge Cup this year, and the last team meeting that I went to as a player, all the guys were sort of saying, you know, the question was put to us, what improvements can we have? How can we keep going with what we're doing? And people are, this is how much it can transform. Guys there are about 4 guys that are saying, I think we should have more stories, or we should have more vulnerability sessions. And it's like, you can see how it changes, how it shifts. It's remarkable. So people are actually asking for more occasions where the people can unload, and more occasions where people can get to know people properly. So, you know, it starts with the culture, and then I think if you're lucky enough, you get staff and you get coaches that understand that, can treat you like a human being, more than just a rugby player too.
It's really great to hear your stories. I feel like we're very privileged to have a bit of an insight into what goes on behind changing room doors, as it were,
Yeah.
in a way that we don't normally get. Any other questions that anyone else would like to put to Stevie? It's nice to see you also, Christine, our other ambassador on the call. Thank you for joining us.
And apologies for my lateness. I had work were ringing me about something, and it all ended up just taking. So I quickly emailed Rachel. I hope you got it, just to say I am going to join. So it's nice. I just caught the last 5-10 minutes, and it was very interesting. Very interesting to hear that perspective.
Absolutely. Michael, you've got a bit of a comment, I think.
Just a comment rather than a question.
You're on mute.
Sorry, I didn't know if you want me to say anything or not. I was just more saying than anything. It's the openness you're having about like mental health in rugby league, and is really inspiring, because I'm a Hull Kingston Rovers fan. So which is sometimes a blessing, sometimes a curse. More of a curse at the moment. But it's really inspiring to hear kind of your openness about it, and like what rugby league can do, because like you say, I think there's a lot of kind of like masculinity in the sport and not talking about any mental health issues as much, and I think it's definitely moving in the right direction, but there's more to be done, and I think it's great that you're speaking about it, basically. So that's all. I'm a comment more than the question.
Thank you. It's going to be a constant process. I think. I don't think we're ever going to get to the ultimate stage, because you know, things need to evolve over time, and you know, there's obviously people that need to speak out and openly try and create the change too. And there's just a comment from Hannah as well that's talking about the New England football culture, and that's certainly something that that around that time I was looking at and hearing on the grapevine about what they'd done. And it's you know, it's not just a better place mentally when it's like that, but it's a better place for performance as well. And it's a short circuit for people to really want to put it all out there. You know, it really is like just grabbing the bull by the horns in the way to elevate performance, because everyone wants to play for the teammate because they know them from inside out. And you know, any final that I've been in and won is because of us literally being side by side and putting more effort in. So for sure, we've got showcase the opportunity to partner with schools. Talk to his rugby coach.
Yes, Sarah, I think you've got a young audience member as well joining you to listen. Do you want to?
Yeah, so well, he's left now because he
How's it
didn't want to look at him. But yeah, so we had thank you. My 11-year-old just listens to, doesn't often get the opportunity to speak to or listen to a professional rugby player, but he'd be happy to message his rugby coach and tell him he's been listening to you if you want to partner with any schools. I don't know if that's something that you do.
Yeah, for sure. Like that, you know, the education stuff was like literally kicking off before COVID. And it's obviously been something that has not been readily accessible for everyone, but yeah, for sure, I can I can come down and do something and speak about the same stuff if you'd like. No worries.
Brilliant, thank you so much.